I've covered the KBO as a play-by-play announcer since Woo Suk Go's rookie season in 2017. He was a first-round regional pick back then, which means he was only allowed to be drafted by one of the 3 Seoul teams in the first round. It's a draft system where the teams are responsible for helping to develop their local talent first and foremost, rather than allowing the worst team to automatically get the best prospects. Go received a signing bonus that year of 300 million won, which was the second largest that draft. That was 1.5 times more than the 200 million received by Jung-Hoo Lee, who was, of course, recently signed by the San Francisco Giants last month. So Go had the pedigree from a young age before becoming a pro, and his path after joining the LG Twins has been that of a top talent. Go made the major league team in his age 19 season, which isn't unusual for a top prospect, but do consider this is a 19-year-old kid just 1 year removed from high school competing against the best players in Korea. His first 2 seasons weren't much to write home about, but they were important in achieving service time, which is what allowed him to get posted this offseason. It was Go's 3rd season in 2019 that saw him break out as the team's closer, and that's a role that he has held since. It's safe to say that Seung-Hwan Oh, who briefly closed for the St. Louis Cardinals in 2016 and 17, is the greatest reliever Korea has ever produced. He would be Korea's Mariano Rivera, or certainly the closest thing. The debate for Korea's second-best closer ever would be up for debate, with Woo Suk Go being able to put up a worthy case. The one thing Go didn't have on his resume for that debate was a championship, but he finally recorded the final 3 outs as he helped his LG Twins snap a 29-year title drought last year. That might not seem that long for Cleveland baseball fans, but note the KBO only has 10 teams, and when that streak began, the league only had 8. The stories aren't all good for Go, though. He's coming off a season in which he lost 8 games, although he was battling injuries throughout the season. He also took the loss in Game 1 of the Korean series after giving up a run in the top of the 9th, and he gave up 3 runs on 4 hits in the bottom of the 8th in Game 3 as well. He would have taken the loss in that game, but his team bailed him out, scoring 3 runs of their own in the top of the 9th to win the game. Everything I've said so far, these are facts about Woo Suk Go. He's got a mid-90s fastball with a solid slider against righties, a good curveball too. Facts. Now for my opinions on Go and my personal analysis on his move to the San Diego Padres. Let's start with my first reaction when I heard he had requested to be posted by the LG Twins. I had known and expected Jung-Hoo Lee to be posted this offseason as something had been marked on my calendar 7 years ago. It was something everyone expected, and he got paid big. With Woo Suk Go, I think it's safe to say that it came as a little bit of a surprise, but not to the point where you would think, oh, there's no way that he's going to get signed by anyone. It just hadn't been brought up by him or the team before, and he was coming off a tough season and perhaps a tougher postseason. If he repeated his 2022 season, perhaps it would have been more expected. Let's then talk about expectations and role with the Padres. The closing job for San Diego has not been given to anyone yet, and I think it can be inferred that Robert Suarez, Yuki Matsui, and Go will each have an opportunity to claim the role if they don't become a 3-headed monster. Suarez has the most MLB experience, but even his resume only includes 2 seasons, and neither of those as a closer. He does have closing experience, but that all was in Japan, just like Matsui, who also has been a very consistent closer, but also only in Japan. And being a lefty, the Padres may want to use him in matchups rather than save him, let's say, against 3 straight righties in the 9th. So Go does have a solid chance, but I think he's the clear underdog of those 3. Let's look at his contract and why the Padres signed him, or why it was the Padres that signed him. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if Go took less money to sign with the Padres, where he would be given a legitimate chance to close. He's also now on a team with a fellow countryman in Ha-Sung Kim. And while he's closer friends with San Francisco's Jung-Hoo Lee, who's actually his brother-in-law, their bullpen situation is pretty set for late innings. St. Louis was reported to be interested in signing Go for some insurance and perhaps some upside behind Ryan Helsley and Giovanni Gallegos. And remember, they've had experience with Korean pitchers, with the final boss, Seung-Hwan Oh, in 2016 and 2017, as well as Kwang-Hyun Kim in 2020 and 21. But I think ultimately Go chose San Diego for being a better situation with a teammate in Kim that could show him the ropes of the majors, rather than being somewhat isolated with the Cardinals. I think if anything surprised me with Go's signing with the Padres, it was the guaranteed amount that he received. Now, I don't disagree with the Padres guaranteeing him $4.5 million over 2 years, and I have no problem with Go accepting that deal to realize his dream of playing in the bigs. What I don't understand is the LG Twins allowing him to go for what will be a mere $900,000 in their pocket. For the defending champs of the KBO to lose the guy considered to be the top reliever in the KBO for a mere $900,000, it's actually quite mind-boggling. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy for the player, and certainly for the Padres. I think, pay practically nothing for some solid upside for the next 2 or 3 years. But I think the big loser is LG, who perhaps could go on another 29-plus year championship drought after just giving away the backbone to their bullpen. So, final thoughts on how I think Go will do in the majors. I don't know if he has the filthy stuff to be a top closer in the majors, but if he could develop his command a bit more, especially on his fastball, I could see him improving over time. He's not the talent that Seung-Hwan Oh was in St. Louis, but he is making the transition at 25, whereas Oh didn't reach the major leagues until he was 33. So there is a little bit of potential for Go to be able to improve, especially his command over time. For 2024, I'll predict Go to have, let's say, a 5-5 record with 6 saves and 10 holds, to go with a 4.20 ERA and a little more than a strikeout per inning. I don't think he'll be the guy in San Diego's bullpen this season, but I do think he'll be called upon to close out a few games here and there when the other 2 guys struggle or perhaps need a rest. I hope this helps provide you some insight to who Woo Suk Go is and what to expect from him during his major league start with the San Diego Padres. If you enjoyed this video, please do like it and make sure you're subscribed to the channel to stay up to date with my content centered all around Major League Baseball.